they're always here. So, here we are back at the farm. It's a couple hours later. And I saw one tree down right on the property line, so I grabbed it with a hoe and drug it out. And I went back to grab the rest of it or another piece of it, and one of the hydraulic lines let go on the hoe. It squirted me directly in the face. I took a hydraulic oil shower, sprayed in my eyes, soaked my glasses, my face, my shirt. The hydraulic oil wasn't hot, so it didn't burn me. It's not summertime, so I didn't have my shirt off. It could have been the worst case scenario. I could have had my shirt off and no glasses on in the summertime with hot hydraulic oil, and it would have burned me and blinded me. So I got really lucky in the fact that it was, fall. It's fairly cool. I had on a double layer shirt, and it just hit my glasses. It was a mess to clean up for sure, and it ruined a brand new pair of pants, fairly expensive pair of pants. But it is what it is. And I didn't get injured seriously from it. So that is the tree in question that I was moving. Oh, that's what it was. I pulled that out off the property line, and I was going to grab the other piece of it, but I wanted to pull this other bush out of here. So I went to put dipper pressure on, and pop. And you can see, I mean, it was a shower. It's all over absolutely everything. And that makes me think I'm probably going to come back tomorrow. I mean, God, it's all over everything. The whole machine is just covered. It's sprayed. Look how wet everything is. I mean, I guess the upside is it'll anyway. This line here is the one that let go, and I traced it out, and it's the closest one to us in there. And it just snakes up through the guide there and comes out. And then I was looking, and that one next to it also is fairly frayed. And my friend Steve, who did the work on this machine for me, did tell me I'm going to have to do lines on it. So I think we'll do the one that blew on me, the one next to it with all the really hard fraying, and then in the next couple of months, I want to work my way along and get the other 3 or 4, I guess. Good Lord, that's going to be expensive. Replaced. And then I also have to do stabilizer. Both sides of stabilizer. Those aren't in too bad a shape on this side. The other side's a little rougher. Let's see if I can show you that. Covered in hydraulic fluid. Where is it there? There we go. So I don't know. Every one of these lines is a couple $100, I think, at the least. So it's going to take some time and some money. But it is what it is. All right. So we'll go around the other side. Take a little closer look at these fittings. I think they're about 7/8, maybe 3/4. They just bolt up into the valve body. So hopefully those won't come out too difficult. Before I take those out, I'm going to pull out the manual for the loader and have a look and see if there's O-rings or anything else I need to know before I start taking them apart. And I think I'm going to replace 3 lines actually, because this one's pretty frayed up too. And I really don't like taking a shower in hydraulic oil. That is not cool, man. So they're down here, they're just basically 2 wrenches and twist apart. That's not too bad. So it is what it is, hey? All right, that's it. So that was Saturday yesterday. Today's Sunday. I'm back. I had to breeze through the manual, brought a bunch of tools. Gonna see if I can pop these out. All right, so I got one of them off. A little tricky getting a wrench in around all those lines and such. And then the other one, I didn't have the wrench for the right size for it. I think it's 1 1/16. So I just went down to Rhinebeck, Williams Lumber, and picked up an 1 1/16 wrench. That was $32. One wrench. Amazing how fast things add up on heavy machinery. Anyway, hopefully that'll fit, and these will pop off, and we can get new lines made up. Let's get okay. So I got the bottom of that off out of the boom here. It was buried in some gunk in the boom, and then the connector itself had all kinds of grease, gunk, dirt dried on around it, so I had to scrape it off with a paint scraper to even get to it. But I managed to get it undone. I got it pulled off, and so I can pull that one out now. That is the third one from the left, third valve from the left, from the back of the machine here. This is more from my records than anything. And then the other one that we're taking off is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth one from the left, or the third from the right. And that one is labeled 4. And the one I took off already from the third valve is labeled 2. So 2 to the third valve and 4 to the fifth valve. And then the one that I just took off, which comes from number 3, third one in, goes to the very bottom back one. That's this guy right here. And that was tucked underneath here. And I'll have to remember to put this bracket back on too that holds these in place. So that one goes to number 3. And this one that I pulled up goes to valve 5, line 4. And this is line 2. All right, so my 1 1/16 wrench does not fit that. So I guess it's probably 1 1/8. When I read through the manual, I didn't see anything over 1 1/16 in there, but maybe a different fitting, replaced at some point probably. So a different nut size on it. I got these two off here inside the boom. So that's good. And I unrooted them from the protector channel here on the thing. So that one's off there. And I got to get a wrench to get the other part off, but then that'll be off. And then the other one is off over here. Set it off to the side. There she is. And we'll get a new line made up for that tomorrow. And I don't know if I'm going to make it back here tonight to pull the other line. I got to see if I can find an 1 1/8 wrench. My friend Mikey, KC2 UVP, offered me one over the radio before. But we're headed toward dark, and I might just hold off and do it tomorrow. But we'll see. Either way, I'm going to take this line with me, and we can get this one started tomorrow and get a new one made up. All right, that's it for me. Well, you know how it goes. You reap what you sow, and you get to drive what you fix. All right, well, we're back at 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night. Got the right wrenches. I actually was able to pick up a full wrench set, 1 inch through 1.25 inches, I think, from Roger Hoffman's at Hoffman's barn sale for $24. So that was nice, because the previous 1 1/8 wrench at Williams was $32, just one wrench. So now I got the set that does it. Came back, I got the other fitting out on it right there, empty slot, and it was hitting the one behind it just a little bit coming down, so I actually had to loosen the one behind it just so it could come down all the way to come out of the port there. But we got it out, and now we can go get the parts made up so we can reinstall them later this week. Pulling the hydraulic lines off, and I see eyes shining at me out of the tree. What do you know? It's a little possum. Don't worry, little guy. Yeah, we got a little bit of snow.
Oh, no doubt of that. A lot more fun.
Alright, so this video is for people who are new to the channel, or maybe just haven't seen the channel, or don't recognize the full scope of the channel. I have over 1,300 videos at this current time. It's July 14th, 2024. And so there's lots of content on here that you may not have seen, even if you've been a subscriber or viewer for a long time. So I thought I would just show you how to navigate this channel a little simpler. When you first come to the page here, you have the top videos, right? It's like popular stuff. You have the latest videos, and then there's different playlists down below. But if you click over here at playlists, I've split my content into all different types of playlists that are generally in the same category. So, like, say if you're interested in just regenerative ag and soil stuff, you could pick, Reboot Agriculture series to watch, or if you want just greenhouse stuff, there's a whole list on greenhouses. Same with ram pumps, same with Fleur stuff. I have a list called the Toolbox of Working with Soils and Plants. That's all different types of stuff on plant health and soil health. So I just want to make people aware of it. If you go to the playlist part of this, it's a really easy way to. The playlists are a great way to get at that in a relatively easy way. And I try to set my playlist up, and I probably have to go back and do some brush-up work, but I try to set them up so that they're chronological. So you can start on video 1 and follow about 2. That's it. Just a quick tour how to get the things on the channel.
All right, so it's been about 2 weeks. It took a while for them to get these 90-degree hydraulic fittings in to do them, but they're in, they're here. I got lines. We got a little bit of snow, obviously, since then, but that's okay. Not too much of it, so it's not too much of a hassle. And I got the other line, one of the lines already routed through the channel to go into here. And I sent myself a copy of the video from disassembly so I could keep track of which goes where. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this back together and see if we can get it working. Yeah, seems to be working well. I don't see any leaks on either of those lines. I don't see any leaks on this. I think that's a success for 2 line replacements. All right, now that I got her fired up and back out of the woods where it was such a nightmare to work on, I'll give you a better shot of these. I don't like... I don't know. I guess that's just a drip off of something else. I don't like seeing that on there. But I think we're okay. One thing I have to say I didn't like when I hooked these lines up was seeing these fittings float. I thought that might not be good, because all the other fittings on here, they're anchored right to the fitting block, so to speak. And these, the new ones, actually swivel, which is actually great. It takes some of the strength off of them. But I was just concerned that they weren't actually fitting correctly, or they were the wrong fitting maybe or something. But it seems to be okay. I'm gonna get some hydraulic fluid and top this up, because it needs to be topped up. Definitely weak in lifting and dropping the hoe and such. So I'm going to get some hydraulic fluid. I'm going to clean these fittings up. I got to put the plate. There's a plate in here. I'll show you that quick. Yeah, see that's starting to lean off to the side. That's not good. So I'm going to tighten that plate back down. And then once I get the boom down again, there's one right in here, right there, that holds those hard lines anchored to the boom. I'm going to tighten those back down, put some fluid in, and then we'll do a little bit more extensive test. But at least we got ourselves out of the woods, so to speak. All right, well, I forgot to turn fuel on, so ran out of fuel. Then I had to crack and bleed the injectors, because that's how diesel works. If you run out of fuel. But I got to run. I got to move back down here. I got to take the battery home and get that charged, because I ran that down pretty good. Bleeding it back out again. Overall, I think we're pretty well solid. I definitely do have some other lines I got to do on this machine. I guess when we're talking hydraulics, we'll just take a quick look at them. I definitely have to do this stabilizer one. In fact, this is starting to leak a little bit, so I got to do that real soon. So I'll probably pull that next and get that done. I know the other 4 of these are going to need replacement eventually, but they're not too bad. There's a little cracking and checking, but they're not frayed like those 2 that were here and the one that blew were. So that's not too bad. Then underneath here, there's a big return line that comes back from the backhoe, comes back into the bucket here. It's probably kind of hard to see it on camera here, but you can see pretty checked. And I know when I looked at this earlier in the season, that whole line is pretty well frayed and checked, so that needs to be replaced, because that would dump all 8 gallons of the reservoir very quickly if it blew, and it's not too far from going. And then I see up on the bucket here, we got one that's checked a little bit here. Not too bad yet, but we're getting there. And then this one's older. It's not in too bad a shape, but should be replaced fairly soon as well. The loader hydraulic lines all seem okay going into the front end loader. And then eventually I'll have to come back and do on the boom here. It's not too bad, but it does have a little pinch on it there. So this one should be done. This one we already did. And everything else I think is solid out into the boom. So we're getting there. We're catching up. I guess I'll just mention it while we're talking about it. These 2 lines, just these 2 lines with fittings, was about $500. So 4 more lines is another $1,000 or so. And I don't know what these shorter ones are, but they're probably going to be at least 100 and something a piece, I would think. So it adds up pretty quick. But when we're done, we'll have a nice functional machine with solid working hydraulics. So no complaints overall. Just takes time, energy, and money. Just like everything else in life, time, energy, and money. So here we are back on Sunday. I think it's December 8th. And I'm going to go over, I'm going to top it up. I didn't get to that yesterday. It was getting dark and cold, so I just cut out after I got it down here. I'm going to top up our reservoir, and then we'll see where we're at. This is the reservoir access on the Massey Ferguson. And this screws off. There we go. Underneath it is a dipstick. So, 1/8" wrench pops that off and threads out, and it sure is a dipstick, a really nice dipstick. And we got to get some fluid in this puppy. So I put some fluid in, but I didn't want to overfill it. So I retracted all cylinders, so we have all of our fluid back in the tank, so we can get an accurate reading. Because if you don't do that, you could fill it up to where the dipstick says full, and you go retract the hoe or retract the stabilizer, and all of a sudden your reservoir overflows on you. And you don't want that. Well, it took about 2.5 gallons or so, but we're there. And that makes sense because we have been, and you can see there's a little bit of water mixed in with that. We'll probably give that a change after we get all our hydraulic lines cleaned up and updated. Makes sense. It does seep a little bit here and there and everywhere. But we're going to get all those seeping spots fixed and hydraulic lines fixed, and then we'll be solid. But for now, we can go out and actually do a test run now. We got our hydraulic reservoir full, so we won't burn up pumps or anything. So in case you have an old Massey Feguson 3165 or 165, and I think this applies to most older tractors, this is the hydraulic fluid I'm running. From what I read online, it's basically a mineral oil base. So now everything fully extends, nice and smooth, nice smooth operation, so that's good. But I figured I'd put these stabilizers down and have a look at these lines. These seem okay for now. I mean, eventually I'll put new ones on here just to have new clean lines on everything. But those are pretty good. So this one definitely needs to be replaced. And now with the stabilizer down, I can get to that pretty easily. That's not too bad to do. So I think the next priority lines to do are this and that big return line that's all checked. And I'll have to drain fluid to do that again, because that's the low point in the system. But good to know what's coming up
I
next.
figured out where that one little drip leak is coming from. It's right at the end of the valve on the dipper. And you can see it's leaking a little bit of fluid there. Not terrible, but we don't want to be leaking fluid. So I'm going to have to look that up in the 222 service manual and see what I can find about that.
Alrighty, well, I took her out for a good hour, hour and a half run. Ran her around. Managed to get this pile of trees that I dug out earlier in the spring to clear this 7,500 square foot block here for planting. Dug them out of the brush line, shoved them out in the middle of the lot here. And then we get one of these snowy, rainy days. We got rain coming this week. I don't know if I'll have time this week, but one of these days over the winter, I'm going to try and burn this brush pile down when we don't have a fire hazard. Because when this place is dry, it's a severe fire hazard. But we got good moist soil right now, and I think with a good rainstorm, I can burn that and not have any hazard or danger about burning anything I don't want to burn. And so overall, she's running like a champ. But I do have a little bit of a leak here, and I think it's that same spot coming out of that. I think that's where the adjustment is done on that valve. But I'm gonna have to take a look at the service manual and try and figure out what I can about that. And I might have to shoot my friend Steve a text and see if he's got any input on it. So for now, machine is functional again, new hydraulic fluid, topped up. The lines that broke, well, the line that broke and the one next to it that was frayed are replaced. And I know what else I got to do to it. So that's good progress for today. And I got other stuff I got to do, so I'm going to go take care of other stuff now. But man, what a great machine. I really do love running this machine. What a beast. That's it. Thanks for watching the Farmers to Seas Network. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Seems like a long time ago when we grew potatoes. Only been a couple months, a few months. Just give you a nice quick shot here from the north end as I'm leaving out. Sure is beautiful, all planted out like a flag, green, white, and you. You know the deal. You always reap what you sow. And you can only drive what you can fix.